our food tastes good cold, it tastes good heated up, it's ready to go whenever the customer is. Preventive aspect versus a reactionary aspect. Because a lot of people will phone us and say, hey, look, like I've been diagnosed with diabetes, like I need help with my meal prepping. Sure, we can, but we can also help prevent that in the future, right? We wanted to be the piece where we could not only provide end product of the fresh, healthy food, but also the education piece, whether that be from our meal plan itself with all the information, or if they need to reach out to our dietitian directly. We have our lifespan, but we also have our health span. So for us, it's like, yeah, you can live for a long time, but you have to have, an able body to be able to enjoy that lifespan. We just create a marketplace for all meal prep companies to be on our dietary approved platform. So we're having a team of dietitians as well as our AI to actually produce the meal plans for the users. And then we'll have different meal prep companies in different locations actually producing the meals on our behalf through our platform. Health, wellness, fitness, diet, meal prepping, whatever, that we can all kind of work together to create a platform, where we can truly help people. I think that's the most important thing, like for us. You're going to feel the same or better, and then you're still going to feel full and be able to kind of meet those expectations. Yeah.
Welcome back to the Welllness Dojo Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Craig, and today I'm excited to have Sam Hale here with me. He is the founder and co-owner of Nutrimeals, and I'm super excited to have you on, talk about what Nutrimeals is, and just get into the nooks and crannies of everything nutrition and wellness. So
perfect.
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. So I'm going to throw it right to you. Tell me a little bit more about like what Nutrimeals is and explain it to our audience a little bit.
Sure, absolutely. So Nutrimeals, as you know it now, is your typical meal prep company. We prepare and provide healthy meals to Albertans, basically. So what that looks like is that you'd order a week of meals at a time. So you'd have like lunch and dinner or whatever for 5 days, and then we would deliver that straight to your door. And of course, all of our meals are dietitian approved and vetted, so always a healthy focus.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm curious, like, how did you get into this industry? Like, you look like a fit dude. You got some muscle on you and stuff. So is that how you got into it? You were just like a fitness freak, or?
Yeah, it was actually more at the time, like my girlfriend Grayson, who's also like my life partner and business partner. So she was really into health and wellness when I was away in Japan. And then when I came back, she kind of got me on board with the meal prepping and the health and wellness aspect and more of the fitness side of things. And then once we started doing that, a lot of our friends started doing that and said, well, if Grace is doing your meal prep, can she also do my meal prep? And then so we're like, well, can we make a business out of this? And then it kind of one thing led to another, milestones, stepping stones. And then we created like an e-commerce store and then started feeding mouths all over Calgary. And then that kind of expanded into other areas as well, like Lethbridge, Edmonton, Red Deer, places like that. So It's been a lot of fun. It's been a hectic journey. So we started the business itself in about 2018. And I pursued it full-time 3 years ago. So basically January of 2020, like right before the inevitable COVID hit, we took it on full-time and started delivering food to where people were, which is obviously their homes. So yeah, kind of escalated from there and snowballed, and then this is where we are now.
Yeah, it's cool because I've seen you guys around for a while now, and I've always loved the concept. And I've used some meal prep services before, but the one really cool thing is it's ready-made meals, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like you don't have to do any of the work. You basically, from what I see anyways, correct me if I'm wrong, but it shows up to your door and it's like basically like just ready to go for you.
That's right, exactly. So we're looking at it from two different ways, right? So we look at it from like a time savings convenience, but we also look at it from like a food accessibility. Like a lot of times if people are in a pinch and they're busy working professionals and they're getting something to grab and go, it's usually typically something unhealthy, like fast food, right? So we wanted to make sure that we have an option where, our food tastes good cold, it tastes good heated up, it's ready to go whenever the customer is. So that was the biggest thing that we wanted to make sure is that all of our meals are shelf stable as well as good in all different environments. So if you're going on a hike, for example, you can still eat good, right? Like you want to fuel your body, and that's the whole thing, like the whole point behind it.
Yeah, it's like road trips and stuff like that. It's like all these things, like you said, it's just so much easier usually for people to go fast food or to stop at the convenience store and grab a bag of chips or something, or a chocolate bar or something like that. It's nice to have an option like that.
I mean, there's a time and place for that too. Like, don't get me wrong, like moderation. Like, I eat my chocolate bars, I have a bag of chips as well. And it's like obviously a different meal, but it's nice to have kind of, like you said, that option for something healthier on the road. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah. And it's funny for me, like, just hearing you talk about it is like that entrepreneur mindset too, where you're like, okay, like, I need this. How do I make a business out of this? That's a cool thing too.
Yeah, and the thing is too, like, even speaking about entrepreneurs, it's like a lot of people, they don't necessarily connect like their stamina or their ability to do good work without, fueling their body properly. So that's another thing as well. It's like garbage in, garbage out. It's kind of our joke, especially when it comes to data or whatever that might be on the software side, but it's also the same with our bodies, right? Yeah. So we want to make sure that we're putting in all the nutrients that we can to make sure that we're always running as optimal as possible.
Yeah. And is that kind of like the vision that you guys have right now too, is like for Nutrimeals in specific, is just to kind of make things easier for people?
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we want to do. Is like, our motto when we first started was like making healthy meals and convenience coexist was like our original motto that we always used to say. And that was kind of the main focus. And now it's like we've always wanted to help as many people as possible. And so with that, when it comes to scaling a food company, it's quite difficult. And that's why we're swapping over to the software side of things. Yeah. Just to help more people.
Yeah. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about kind of where it's going and stuff like that. But I'm also curious to hear more about you specifically.
Absolutely.
I know you... Like, obviously, you have, like, more of a business background. You went to school for business. You got a business degree. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So I went to the University of Lethbridge here in Alberta as well, and I did a major in finance. And so that was kind of my bread and butter. But then I also did a minor in international business, which I also really enjoyed. So with that came an opportunity to study abroad. So I went to Japan for a semester there, which was kind of, changed the way I saw the world and thought there's a lot of opportunities in different places. Because in Japan, for example, the kitchens are so tiny, a lot of people actually don't cook there. So I thought that, well, people are always grabbing food on the go and it's kind of making it easier. And that was kind of one of the inspirations behind it as well. And then we also had a automated kiosk, which is like a vending machine that literally dispensed fresh, healthy food. Yeah. And that was obviously rolled out at the wrong time, which was 2020, when I quit my job. So that's taken the back burner. So we only have one in our current location. But from me, like, it was just after I graduated university, I went to a company called Nutrien, which was previously called Agrium, and they merged with a company called Potash Corp. And so I was in the agriculture industry, but nothing really to do with like the food side of things. But when it came to financing and finances for like a large corporation, I still budget the same way as we did back then. So it was nice to have that kind of business acumen from like a financials perspective and then bringing that into our own business. Yeah. So it was kind of interesting. And then from Grace's point of view, she started in the arts, she went over to marketing, and then she finally finished in finance. So she's always been kind of a person that likes to try new things. And so our kind of business styles complement each other because she's really focused on operations and she knows how to run things well, whereas I'm on the backside, doing the forecasting and budgeting and kind of doing all sorts of things to do with the business. So I kind of say, like, I work on the business, she works in the business kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good dynamic to have, right? You guys kind of balance each other out in that way.
Yeah, we can complement each other in certain ways.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And so I'm curious. I want to hear more about kind of the process of it, because I was looking through the website and there's a lot of really cool things that you guys do have going on with it, and it looked to me like you guys also help people like with meal planning in terms of like calories and stuff like that. How does that work?
Yeah, that's right. So we have two ways. We have one way that just launched, which is going to be basically the pilot of that software we're building, which is going to be a marketplace. But how it originally started is that, again, we wanted to help people as the best we could. Yeah. And so we have an in-house dietitian that not only helps us, create the meals, but also meets with clients one-on-one, like similar to this, and has a dietitian consultation and would then plan out the meals based on that customer's lifestyle, macronutrient requirements, and things like that. And we noticed that was quite a grueling process. And so what we've done now, and you'll see that on the website, is that we have a meal plan which you can kind of just do it yourself. It's self-serve. So basically what you would do is just insert your physical profile, even your eating preferences, and then the meal plan we give you will basically optimize our recommendation based on the meals that you'll like to eat and the meals that will fit your macros the best. And of course, it's up to the user to pick how many meals they want us to satisfy each day, because some people, depending on the goal and the size of the person, there's going to be different requirements from like caloric intake, protein, carbs, and fats. So we'll help as much or as little as needed. Yeah.
And then I imagine like the pricing is kind of based on a custom, on like what their needs are with that too, like portions, that type of thing as well.
Yeah, so the portions are all the same, because that's really hard from a production standpoint, is to change that.
Yeah,
but basically it's will be done by volume of meals.
Gotcha.
So the more you purchase, the better deal it is. But of course it gets more expensive because it's more product.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Very cool. I think that's such a overwhelming piece for a lot of people, right? When they're trying to eat healthy, when they're trying to, whether it's get into shape or build muscle or whatever it is, it's like such a tedious process to do on your own, but then it's also just super overwhelming. It's like, am I doing it right? Am I like eating the right things and stuff? Then I have to prep it. It's time consuming. So it's really cool that you guys kind of give that whole package, right?
Yeah, thank you. So the way we looked at it is that basically, like, we look at what's out there in the market right now, right? So we have softwares which basically allow people to track their intake and basically educate the person, but they're not getting the physical product, which is a little bit different, right? And then you have obviously like, fad diets, like there's a Jenny Craig's, there's the Weight Watchers, there's the World and stuff like that, but it's still not a fresh food product. It's a frozen, you pick it up at the location, which I believe they don't have anymore, which is unfortunate. But we wanted to be the piece where we could not only provide end product of the fresh, healthy food, but also the education piece, whether that be from our meal plan itself with all the information, or if they need to reach out to our dietitian directly, so they have access to that.
Yeah, it's so cool that you guys have that dietitian piece to it too. It's something that I saw. I was like, that's awesome, because it gives people that sense of like security almost, and like that they have somebody to guide them, which
exactly.
is really cool.
Not only that, is like if people have work benefits and things like that part they can be written off as a health and wellness expense or part of your benefits, right? So I think fueling your body is one of the most important things you can do, especially from like a preventative you're like a vehicle, your body's your vehicle. It's preventative maintenance. If you can prevent yourself from having chronic illness by fueling your body with the correct products, why wouldn't you do that, right? So if you can meet with a dietitian, like, highly recommend understanding what is best for you.
Yeah I always use that analogy too. It's like if your car broke down, for example, on your way to work, like, even if you didn't have the money for it at the time, like, you would find a way to fix your car so that you can continue to get to work every day. It's like our body is also a vehicle, but so many people don't think of their body in that way, right? Or they're doing the same thing where they're like waiting for their body to break down before they do something about it. This is a cool way for people to kind of make it a little bit easier to maintain that, right?
And that's the hard thing about this business is, right, we're trying to train new and better habits, whereas like that's like a whole separate beast in itself. So it's just difficult to find a preventive aspect versus a reactionary aspect, because a lot of people will phone us and say, hey, look, like, I've been diagnosed with diabetes, like, I need help with my meal prepping. Sure, we can, but we can also help prevent that in the future, right? I'm not saying we will, but it's a possibility that we can definitely help in that area. So that's kind of like my realm of like what I work with my coaching clients and stuff like that, is like the habit building side of things. Like, how do we kind of manipulate your lifestyle in a way that's not overwhelming, that's sustainable, but it kind of builds those habitual foundational pieces into your routines, so that it does make that easier for you. And it's, like you said, like, it might not like reverse it overnight or something like that, but like, how do we set yourself up for success in the future? Right? Absolutely. There's a lot of things now, right? Like going from mental health, physical health, all those kind of things are all related. It's all part of our body. So it's interesting to see how it's all correlated as well. So like what you're doing, there's going to be a lot of benefits with also like the food they're eating, a lot of synergies in that perspective. Yeah.
And then that's the number one thing that I hear with my clients is like, I know like I need to be eating better, and I know I need to do this, but like I just don't have the time, or like I get stuck, and like those types of things. It's like finding new ways that people can like make things easier. So kudos to you guys for doing that and taking that and like just like running with it and creating something.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. It's a tough industry, like having a perishable product, that's a tough one. So it's been kind of a wild ride, and we feel like we've kind of figured out how to do it. So now it's just, like you said, running with it. So
running with it. I love it. Okay, I want to hear a little bit more about you again. Tell me about like your kind of fitness journey.
Sure.
Fitness and nutrition journey.
So mine's probably like the most opposite of what you're going to expect, is that I was really skinny, really lanky growing up, and I didn't really hit any growth spurts until like after high school. So for me, my biggest goal is always just to gain weight. So I did the opposite of what we're doing now, which is like telling people to fuel their body properly. I was just fueling my body with whatever I had. Just getting the calories, mass gainer. We call them dirty shakes. You have like the protein powder, the oats blended up, just doing whatever we could. So that was always my thing, and I was always worried that I was like always gonna be like the runt, right? Like I was always small, and then in the end I was like, no, like if anyone can change it, it's me, so I'm gonna do it. And so that's what I was really motivated to do, is just not so much look at the scale, but look in the mirror and just be like, yeah, I want to get it bigger. But it was like obviously a good kind of bigger. Like I wanted to be quite muscular.
Yeah.
But in recent times, it has dropped off a little bit. Now it's more just maintaining.
Yeah.
I could always be a little bit better, but luckily I do eat Nutrimeals quite often. So I get to eat well. But now it's just me and my training regime isn't as, what it used to be. Whereas now I may go to the gym, 3 times a week, which is, okay for maintenance. But before I was really passionate and like even considering doing, some kind of bodybuilding or powerlifting events. And now, I get to work with people like that all the time and I can kind of see both sides of it. But realistically, it was just, making sure my body had the mobility to kind of, help me carry on through my life.
Yeah. And I think we go through stages, right? Like
For sure.
I've done that too, where like, and I've done the dirty bulks and stuff like that too. So I like bulked up to like 210 pounds at one point, and it was like just eating like gummy bears and ice cream, trying to get all the carbs in and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do. I think we go through these stages, but you kind of described perfectly, like even just like getting to a place where you can maintain like 3 days a week or maintain like a certain level of nutrition. It's like that process before kind of like built this foundation. There's foundational pieces that were built there that then allowed you to go like, okay, this is no longer sustainable for me, but at least I have this like maintenance foundation that's been built. So
Yeah.
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm reading a book right now on longevity, and it's kind of interesting. Like we have our lifespan, but we also have our health span. So for us, it's like, yeah, you can live for a long time, but you have to have, an able body to be able to enjoy that lifespan.
Yeah.
So for me, I was just thinking like, at whatever weight, maybe a little bit harder on my joints, so that could be a more optimal size to be. Haven't really figured out what that would be yet, but kind of, experimenting now with it and seeing where I can get to. But like you said, I had like my building phase, and now I'm going through my maintenance phase and just seeing like what works best for my body and how I feel good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I was just talking with my kids about that actually. Like I've got 3 kids. They're all under 13, and we were just talking about like, I was like, you guys are gonna live longer. Like that's kind of the trajectory right now. Is like we're all gonna start living longer and stuff. And I can't remember if it was maybe my daughter who had brought it up, and she was like, yeah, but like what's the point of living longer if you're just gonna be like kind of inactive and like immobile and stuff like that. I'm like, well, exactly, like that's the point. It's like we have to learn to live longer, but like live better longer.
Exactly.
Right. So
yeah, she sounds like she's on the right track. She's smart.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, she's super smart. Yeah. So I'm curious about what you learned about your nutrition through that process. Like you went through the dirty bulk and stuff like that. Like, did you feel like shit when you were doing that, or did you?
I think I was young enough where like my body was like, I was always pretty active, so it was like, it was pretty good. Like although I was eating, that way, I was also exercising the same way. Like I don't think it was too bad at that time. I think if I did the same now, I would definitely feel it. And like my metabolism has slowed down a lot, so I wouldn't necessarily see the results I did back then. Yeah. And it would be probably a lot of extra fat instead of, going towards building muscle instead and recovery. Yeah. So that's probably what I would learn from it. Now what I'm learning and what I didn't really appreciate before is like cardiovascular health. Yeah. So for now, for example, I can run up the stairs, a little bit out of breath. Whereas before that would never be a problem. So I think that's important to build as well. Like, your heart's your biggest muscle, one of them. So it's good to work on that, and I'm guilty for not. Yeah. So I definitely, that's one of the things I do want to prioritize now. Yeah. And I'm learning that through how I feel. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely the same. Like I've always been like, I've always felt like I have to lift instead, like that has to be the primary. But like what I'm learning in my older age, I guess, is my maturity. Let's call it maturity.
You're young.
And my maturity is just kind of focus more on like how I feel, right? Gotcha. So it's like if my body doesn't feel good lifting today, then like maybe I do cardio, and it's like that still counts towards my health, like that overall health, that overall like living better for longer.
For sure, man. It's like a lot of things, right? It's always balance. Yeah. That's the biggest thing. It's like, when your body's in harmony, like you're going to definitely feel good, right? So it's an interesting way to put it. But I mean, typically when I used to work out, it was always like my same rotation, like, legs, chest, back, shoulders, right? Yeah. But now it's like, well, what's feeling good today? Yeah. Like, does my shoulder hurt a little bit? Okay, well, maybe I shouldn't do shoulders today. Yeah. So now it's just like, understanding that. But before I would never even like consider that. It's like, no, I'm on my routine. I
Yeah.
have to. But now I'm like a little bit more lenient with that.
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny. Like what comes to mind when you said that is like discipline. It's like I grew up in martial arts, and so like there's always like discipline, right? And discipline looks different to me now. Whereas like before, discipline was like I have to stick to that routine, and I have to be disciplined no matter what. Whereas like now it's the same thing. I'm like, discipline for me now is like showing up, and showing up's going to look different each day, but as long as I show up and I like do the work, it's like, yeah, it doesn't have to be the set routine necessarily. My legs are feeling tight, or if I feel that pain in my knee today or something like that, then I can adjust, and it's still discipline.
And that, like you said, it shows maturity as well.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, that's right. So okay, let's get into the software a little bit. So tell me kind of what changes are coming, what you guys are working on. It sounds like some really exciting stuff.
Yeah, so the kind of meal plan that I alluded to earlier was like our beta. So we're testing that within Nutrimeals at the moment. But what we're intending to do is create a marketplace for all meal prep companies to be on our dietary approved platform. So we're having a team of dietitians as well as our AI to actually produce the meal plans for the users. And then we'll have different meal prep companies in different locations actually producing the meals on our behalf through our platform. So think of like a local home delivery, Skip the Dishes, or Uber Eats, but specifically for meal prep and specifically for healthy prepared meals that match a dietary approved meal plan. So that's the one side of it. The other side of it is that since we've been doing meal prep for the last 5-ish years, we've basically learned how to do all of the production for our kitchen staff as well. So now with all the orders that we're getting through our marketplace, we've been able to take 40 hours of our administrative time and bring it down into 5 minutes. So now we've automated every single process that we've made. So there's going to be value for both the end user, which is the person getting the meals, and also the production partners who are partnering with us to fulfill the orders for us. So that's kind of a huge step for us. And then if you look down into the States, this is kind of where I was going earlier, is that they have a thing called medically tailored meals, or MTM. And what the kind of goal is of that is to help reverse chronic illness. So if you are a stage 3 or 4 cancer patient, or if you have diabetes, or if you have another chronic illness, you can be prescribed healthy meals to actually help reverse those symptoms and to kind of become healthy again, right? But for me, I think that's still one step too late. So we want to work on the prevention side.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is make sure people don't get to those kind of stages in their sicknesses. So for us, what we're kind of doing right now is making this a health and wellness platform, but you're getting the end product to actually eat healthy and live healthier as well. So that's what we're working on right now, which has kind of been a big lift. And so we have most of it kind of developed already from a proof of concept side. So we're already using our operational platform in our business, and then the software is kind of being tested, like I said, in the Nutrimeals platform, but in our marketplace, which will be called something different, that will be available for everybody in all meal prep companies.
Yeah, that's really cool. It sounds like, I want to make sure that I'm like hearing you correctly. So correct me if I heard it wrong, but it sounds to me like it's almost like creating like the Skip the Dishes or the Uber Eats, but for like meal prep services, where it's like you can then go on your phone and be like, I didn't have time to cook something today. Now I have like a healthy option that's deliverable to my door.
Yeah, kind of. So it'll be like you have to order in advance, similar to how do we operate now.
Yeah.
So it's not like instant like those guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be more of a health and wellness focus. So yes, you can order healthy meals, but you can also have a dietary approved meal plan. So if you were to put in your physical and dietary information, we would have a meal plan, sent to your phone.
Yeah.
And then you'll be able to use that, and we'll be able to provide meals based on your location and our partner that match that meal plan perfectly. Nice. And then they'll be sent to your door.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's like the high level of it. And of course there's way more like intricates in there as well, but probably too much to go into.
Well, that's cool, man. It's all about making things more convenient for people and making things easier for people. Right?
Yeah. We want to work with people too. Like it's, scaling a food business itself, like I said, a perishable product's really difficult. So if we wanted to, front load our investment and have a bunch of capital infrastructure in, facilities that can either cater nationally, which are huge, they need huge regulations, or if we open up different hubs in different states or provinces in different areas, that's also really expensive. So for us, what it made sense to do was, okay, let's create the platform. Let's partner with people who are already doing this. And we have our own vetting mechanism that will determine if, that meal prep company's values align with ours, the recipes look good, et cetera, et cetera. But we figured that if we create the platform where we can be that household name, we can then connect people to the healthy meals in their area.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're going with that point, with a health and wellness focus with like the dietitian. And then we're also kind of flirting with the idea of going one step further, as well as having like microbiome testing. So that basically is a gut check, right? You look where that kind of provides what you should eat, and then based on bacteria, and then we can, as a dietitian service, provide you with what and how much you should be eating. So it's kind of like a synergy there. So we're kind of flirting with different ideas in different industries, and just had a conversation yesterday. That's why it's like so fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff that's going on.
Yeah, that's cool. And it's one of those industries where it's endless possibilities and endless ways to kind of maneuver and adjust and pivot. And I mean, I hate the word pivot now after the pandemic, but like really, like you can continue to pivot and like look at different avenues and stuff. And there's a lot of really cool things that you can do with it, right?
Yeah, and I think like, there's not one solution to the problem.
Yeah.
So for example, you could eat healthy, but you don't exercise. Well, that doesn't help either, but you could exercise and not eat healthy. Also doesn't really help. So, there's a lot of things where there's synergies in different areas, where there's microbiome, health, wellness, fitness, diet, meal prepping, whatever, that we can all kind of work together to create a platform, where we can truly help people. I think that's the most important thing, like, for us.
Yeah. You mentioned the microbiome too, and like I'm a big believer in like quality of food versus quantity of food. Like if you can like really zone in on the quality of the foods that you're eating, it's gonna just like really make it easier to align the quantity that you're looking for. Or like vice versa, like that, the dirty bulk and stuff like that. Like it's a lot harder to bulk when you're eating like whole foods and stuff like that, because you do get fuller and stuff like that, right?
Sure.
But I'm a big believer in that quality of foods, especially for weight loss, when people are looking to get healthier, to just like live a healthy life, feel good in their body and stuff. Can you speak to just like, I gauge just based off of even just looking at the website, quality of food is something that's so important to you guys as well in your vision. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, like from a high level perspective, whole foods are probably what's best for the body, right? So everything that we have is made from natural ingredients. We don't really use we don't use any processed foods, because of course a lot of things happen if you have a corn that becomes a corn chip. That's a big process, which isn't really corn anymore, right? Like that takes a lot of the genes and the DNA out of that piece of food. But if you have a processed food, which could be just like you have like the corn and it goes into a can of corn, like that's still a processed food, but it still has that makeup of a piece of corn. So that's an example, right?
Yeah.
So for us, the way we look at it is that if you're eating whole foods, like you said, you're gonna be more satisfied, you're gonna feel better, and it's not even just about eating better for your health, is about like feeling better as well, right? So for us, like you said, all of our products are all built basically with the same makeup. So they have 5 ounces of protein, which is cooked, half a cup of carbohydrates, and then a full cup of vegetables. We do have like a build your own option where people can make custom meals that would fit their lifestyle better. But for us, that's generally can please most people, because we are obviously catering to a large group of people. But yeah, whole grains, fresh vegetables, fresh protein. All of our proteins are sourced locally from local farms here in Alberta, which is a nice benefit for local economy wise. Yeah. And then we use organic when possible, but it's not really a mandatory field that we feel, just because like it is literally impossible to feed the world without having some kind of crop inputs. And I used to work at Nutrient, which is basically now it's one of the biggest potash producers in the world. So a huge component of fertilizer. Yeah. So I mean, we do it when we can, but it's not necessarily required. But we just want to make sure that we're giving the best quality food. Yeah.
I mean, the whole organic thing too is like, it's pretty gray. Like, 100%, right? It's like when people are looking at like, oh, I have to eat organic. It's like, it's hard to even know what that even means nowadays.
It's true. Yeah. And like the regulations behind it are very wishy-washy, I feel. Yeah. And like, at least when you get a, let's call it a mass produced, I don't know the right word, like crop, for example, even like GMO and genetically modified. I'm not an expert in this, so don't quote me, but those go under rigorous testing, like for years. So, I mean, there's enough testing behind it where we should feel confident in our food system. And I mean, just from a food security standpoint, like I said, if you were to eat only organic and the whole population was to jump on board, it wouldn't be possible or sustainable. Like the yields are way too low.
And I think it's an important thing for people to like kind of be awoken to, like, is like this organic thing is like whole foods and like quality foods does not necessarily have to be like organic or gluten-free or like all these kind of ways that the industry kind of labels it too.
Yeah, I agree. And like, there's a lot of stuff like that, like gluten-free, dairy-free. Like, it's true that our body does have a harder time, breaking those compounds up as we get older. Some people lose it completely, and that's why some people are celiac, for example, and some people, are gluten intolerant. So I totally get it. But yeah, I mean, we see this a lot too, and a lot of clients are like, "Oh, I'm like gluten-free, but I can have pasta twice a week." Well, are you gluten-free, or are you just like, testing the waters, or are you doing it because you don't want to have the carbohydrates? Like, it's not always, black and white. So it will depend on the person. But I think we get, like, from an advertising perspective, we get pushed a lot of things that from, big corps that push you towards like a gluten-free diet or whatever. It's just, people see it and hear it a lot, and they feel like that they need to try it or be a part of it. And it depends on the person, but there is, of course, cases like celiac disease where you can't have gluten. But totally get it.
Yeah, and like, even there's like a lot of these things are kind of sold to us as being like, this is the best. No, this is the best, right? And it's a very confusing thing for the consumer as well, because nobody knows like what's the best. And so it's good to have people like you guys who are also like focusing on the education piece as well. It's like, these are the quality foods that we're providing you, and there's like some education around like why these foods are good for you, why this is healthy and stuff like that. Because I think it is just so important for people, like going back to what we said about building the foundations and the habits, right? It's like, it's much more important that you just get consistently healthy meals than focusing on like, this diet is superior to this diet. It's like,
that's like, I think it's like, I hate that word diet too, right?
Yeah.
Like, diet shouldn't be considered like what you're doing at a specific time. Like, for example, like, keto is a really popular one now, which like I don't necessarily agree with, because I mean, carbohydrates should never be considered the villain. Like, it provides your body energy, like literally. Yeah. So I mean, for us to see that, it's like a little bit difficult to kind of navigate, because people will come to us saying they want this, but it's like, well, why do you want it?
Yeah.
They're like, well, I don't really know.
Yeah.
And then that's why we can go into the point and have, dietitian consultation, educate them and explain them that, hey, like, there's a, again, balance. Like, you can have sugar occasionally. Like, it's not going to kill you, you can have certain things here and there, but again, it's like the overall, diet, which could be, whatever word you want to use, is what's going to be what kind of makes you feel good and, look good.
Yeah.
And all those kind of good things. But I just feel that the word diet has been, I believe it comes from the Greek term something, and it's like the way like you live your life and the way that you eat. But then the way we use the like diet in the Western culture is like, okay, a diet's a fad where you do it for a few weeks. We eat 1,200 calories a day. You do this for 6 weeks, you're gonna lose 10 pounds, which is like not the way to look at it at all. Yeah. Like, you should be, if it's truly your diet, you should be thinking about it long term, do what works best for you and what makes you feel good.
Yeah, it's like, regardless of like what you're eating, you're dieting. Yeah, it's like,
exactly.
If you're eating 100%. Fast food every single night, like,
that's your diet.
You're on a fast food diet. Yeah. Like, it's like,
seriously.
It's one of the more frustrating things that I've found with like working with people, and even just with talking with like friends and family members who are, maybe trying this new diet or something like that, and they're like, they're so excited about it at the beginning, or it seems to be going really well, but then when it doesn't go well, when it's not sustainable, it's like we have a tendency to beat ourselves up about it. Yeah. Where it's like, well, at the beginning stage, it's like, why don't you just prove that you can eat like the vegetables, like get your vegetable servings in every single day before you try and like overhaul your lifestyle. Yeah. Right. And that's one cool thing about what I think with Nutrimeals is like, it makes that process easier. It's like, show me that you can like just eat a little bit better consistently before like trying to like completely overhaul, and like, but I get it, we all want fast results, right? That's
it, expectations, right? Yeah. And that's perfect. So we find that like, we don't claim to be like a weight loss service, we never have, never will. Yeah. But a lot of the clients that we work with do want to eat healthier to lose weight, right? And a lot of times we say, okay, like, we can help you with that. And I'm not the dietitian, so like, I'm not the one meeting with them, I'm not consulting them, that's not my specialty. Yeah. But the team will meet with them and say, like, here's our expectation. If you eat what we recommend for a full week, you can maybe lose like 1 to 1.5 pounds a week max. Like, we don't want you to have a shock to your system, because a lot of times when you have those expectations, when you want to lose 2-3 pounds a week, and you do that for 4 weeks and you lost 12 pounds, it's like, well, you can gain that back really quickly as well. Yeah. So I mean, a lot of times when we work with our clients, they're actually surprised with how much food they can eat, because a lot of times people undereat, and then what does your body have to do? Well, it needs to store energy somehow, which stores it actually in fat. So for us, we just want to make sure, like you said, it's making sure that you can eat the vegetables, making sure you can eat like the proper amount of food as well.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where it's, again, all education.
Yeah. Yeah, and people don't realize too that like when they're eating quality foods that their body actually like then is able to go to work, and like you're actually going to, you know, expend more calories than you normally would if you weren't eating those quality foods, because now your body's going to work picking apart like the nutrients and going and using them for different things and stuff like that. Like all that requires energy for your body.
Yeah, like calories aren't made equal in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, like you said, you can have that fast food and you can have like a Nutrimeals and they may have similar caloric intakes, but you know, we have the vitamins and minerals. The fast food doesn't. You know, we have cleaner proteins, you know, a lot less fat, a lot less sodium. You know, that stuff, although the calories could be the same, you know, that stuff's almost as important or more important than that stuff. So yeah, it's just all part of the education piece. Yeah.
And that's where even with like a dirty bulk, like what we were talking about before, like there's fun aspects to that, right?
For sure.
But like even still, it's like you're not even getting like the optimization, like you're not getting optimal muscle building and stuff from going to the fast food places every single day afterwards, or eating the ice cream and the gummy bears like I was doing and stuff. Like you're just not getting that, like you're not optimizing the nutrients that your body needs to actually make you build that muscle. Like when I did it, like I put on so much fat when I did that bulk, and then like even looking back at photos and stuff afterwards, I was like, oh man, I put on a lot of fat, and then like could have done this a lot better, right? Yeah. So yeah.
But then it's like the expectations, right? Like if you're doing a dirty bulk, you're like, okay, I want to gain like 10 pounds. You do it as fast as possible. Yeah. Okay, I gained it. I'm stronger. Yeah. But no, not really, right? But I mean, it's all it can go either way. Weight loss or weight gain. It's both a journey, and it's just like those unrealistic expectations that people have, which, you know, me included back then, and I know better now. Yeah. But it's like we just want to be able to, you know, help people in the right means. Yeah.
It's like nothing quick is like typically great.
Yeah, it's too good to be true. It probably is.
That's it.
And like a lot of people do try a lot of different. What I find is like people try like these bad diets and they go through different phases, and it's like up and down, like, you know, relapse, up and down. Where it's like if you just started here and you just did one thing for, you know, 6 months, you'd probably be here by now. Yeah. But it's just always this instead. But it's okay. It's like humans are built that way, and I think it's a big part of our society where it's like instant gratification. Yeah. But, you know, totally, you have to learn that way. Learn the hard way.
Yeah, I always tell people, I'm like, don't try and do something for 6 weeks that you don't think you'll be able to do for 6 years. Like, what's the point? Yeah. You're just like, okay, so I hit this result, and then what? Right? And then it's just, I go back to the way that I was. Like, let's build it, right? Build it. Yeah. Is that something you guys are seeing a lot of? Like, do you get a lot of people who are coming in, they're like, I'm on keto, can I like still get the meals and stuff, or can you cater it to that diet?
Yeah, like we do get that quite a bit. Like we don't have a ton of customer service, which is a good thing from like a customer retention standpoint. But we do get a lot of new inquiries. Mm-hmm. So what we see is that like, hey, like, I'm doing keto. Like, can I get these meals without the carbohydrates? And then we say no, just because like we're producing on such a large volume. It's that we can't tell our kitchen staff to be like, okay, this one meal can't have rice. Like this one meal can't have spaghetti, whatever it might be. So we actually say no, but we say, hey, you know, why are you doing keto? We have a dietitian in-house. Like, would you like to talk to them? And then we can kind of change the conversation a little bit to understand why they're doing it. And of course, that's what they want to do. Like, we're not saying that they can't do that. Yeah. But we won't be able to cater to them unless they do what is like our build your own option, which is they could pick their own protein and then pick their own 2 sides, which would be like 2 vegetables. Yeah. And like we know that product because we build it a certain way. So that's the only one that can be like kind of customized. But those are more for fuel, not so much for flavor. So it's your very basic like chicken broccoli rice or chicken broccoli cauliflower, whatever it is for a keto person. So we typically don't tend to cater to those people too much. Yeah. But we do see that quite a bit. And now that some of the local companies like Jenny Craig, for example, has pulled out of Canada from like a retail standpoint, we're seeing a lot of people saying, hey, I was on Jenny Craig. I was getting only 12,000 calories a day or 1,200 calories a day. Can you help me? It's like, yeah, sure, that's only 2 meals. Like, we do recommend that, you know, maybe you don't have that little. So it's just like, again, all based on the requirements of the customer. But yeah, 1,200 calories, is very low.
12,000 would be fun though.
Oh, that'd be amazing. But yeah, I don't know. I've always think like in my head, I'm like, we're usually working like 2,000, right? So it's like, you know, but if I hear someone say 1,200, it's like, I'm not used to saying that. So that's why I just spoke twice on my
have you seen the 10,000 calorie challenge? It was trendy for a couple
Bradley
of years
Martin
ago or
and all
something
those
like
guys.
that. Yeah.
Back in the day, like on YouTube. Yeah. I've seen those.
I often thought about like, maybe I try that, and I was like, no.
It would be worth the aftermath, honestly.
That's exactly. I'm like,
you'd be on a food coma for like 3 days after that.
Yeah, you would feel pretty garbage. Yeah.
Like before, I would always just try and eat, and I'm like, if I'm hungry, like I'm failing. Like I can't do that. But now it's like, no, like now that I'm eating like whole foods, I'm eating better. I'm eating more frequently, having a little bit like different kind of snacks. Yeah. Like I'm never really that hungry anymore. It's like if I stick to my routine of having like my breakfast, snack, lunch, and then dinner, and then if I am peckish after, have another healthy snack, that's pretty good for me. But before it was like I would never stop eating.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a misconception in the industry too, and in like for consumers, I think that like we have to eat less. It's like people think like I think we always just think like we have to eat less if we want to lose weight. We have to eat less if we want to be healthy. It's like absolutely not the case. It's like you can actually eat so much more than you think you can and obtain the results that you want to obtain.
Yeah, it's like, let's say, it's what we see a lot of times too. It's like a lot of people will be like, they'll meet with their dietitian and they're like, what do you usually eat? And they'll tell us their main thing. It's like, okay, well, cut back the carbs by half and then add another cup of vegetables. Like that's going to help you a lot because now you're having, you could still be meeting your calories or be in a slightly caloric deficit, but your stomach knows when you're full based on volume. So, okay, eat a little bit less carbs, have a little bit more vegetables or protein, and you're going to, you're going to feel the same or better, and then you're still going to feel full and be able to kind of meet those goals and expectations.
Yeah. It's good. It's good that you guys are educating people like that. Right?
Yeah, we could always be doing a better job, but I mean, it's all part of the process of kind of getting to where we want to be, and that's the whole point of, scaling a platform where we can reach more people, because right now we are kind of confined to our provincial border just from like regulatory standpoints from a fresh food perspective. So, I mean, it's going to be a great opportunity when we can launch this product into, other provinces and, hopefully south of the border.
Yeah, that's going to be really cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. That's my main focus right now is just growing that platform. Yeah. And then my business partner, Grace, is focusing on Nutrimeals and like all the operations and all the current business stuff.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. So with this new software and stuff, you said you're going to be kind of looking to expand. Is it going to be across Canada? You said you want to get into the US as well?
Yeah, so our main goal is start West Coast down, just because if you look at the population of the United States, it's way more dense than Canada. And logistics for meal prep companies are quite a bit easier. Okay. And like shipping and delivery is quite a bit cheaper as well. Because you have, more stops, more congestion, it's more condensed. So that's really one of our priorities. But we do have some, discussions in the work with other Canadian meal prep companies as well. But we'll see how that kind of pans out. It's going to be probably, I'd say, West Coast Canada first. We've already kind of entered that market once and pulled out, and then going back into it. And then maybe kind of going down into the United States that way. That's like my ideal at least. But who knows, like with business, like things change so quickly. There may be an opportunity out east or whatever. But I still feel that the US is where we want to be growing, but we still want to help Canadians as well.
Yeah. I imagine, I even know just from like... just food quality testing and stuff like that. Like there's a big difference in regulations between the two different countries, right?
Yeah, and that's all above my head. Like I'm not sure about all that, but Grace knows a lot more than I do when it comes to that, so I'll leave that to the experts. But yeah, like I said, we do have a vetting process. So like if we were to partner with someone, onboard them onto our platform, there's going to be certain requirements that they have to meet from like a quality assurance standpoint, facility standpoint, as well as raw inputs and ingredients. So
you have a marketing background, right?
I have a finance background, but I do spend most of my time doing marketing. So it kind of goes, it's an investment, right? People don't understand, like if you pull your marketing spend, you're taking investment out, you're growing your business. So I kind of analyze and quantify everything to do with marketing. So like that's kind of my bread and butter because I like spreadsheets. So for me, I kind of mix marketing with kind of like the numbers. Yeah.
So with like looking into marketing and like being like really heavily involved in that area, I'm curious, just like what are some, like I think we've touched on this a little bit with the fad diets and stuff, but like what are some of the things that you're seeing? Because it's difficult to be in an industry, I think, where you're selling nutrition, let's just say, right? Or even for me, like selling fitness and nutrition to people. You have your ideal customer of like, what people want to hear, right? But then you also know like the real side of it is like, people want to hear like lose weight fast, like this type of thing. And that's like kind of the marketing thing. But then there's also this like real aspect that we've been talking about, which is like, it's about like building foundations and stuff. Like, have you found it difficult to like get that messaging across to people?
Yeah, like most of our messaging is more strict towards like the convenience side of things and like, eating healthy instead of, grabbing the fast food down the road. But yeah, like for me, like the creatives, the marketing is like the hardest part. It's, you only have, a second at most to kind of gain someone's attention.
Yeah.
So like if you're using organic social media or pay-per-click marketing, you have to have something that's eye-catching and has like a message where they can read it like instantly.
Yeah.
Like that's what we think is the hardest part. And it's also like competing on a budget standpoint. Like if you look at like Google Ads, for example, and in your dashboard, you can see what other competitors are ranking for, similar keywords. It's like, well, the HelloFreshes of the world and the meal kits who don't necessarily focus on the diet or the health aspect. They're focused on like bringing raw ingredients to your home that you cook.
Yeah. But
But we're still ranking for like those same keywords and trying to hit that same demographic because it's the people who are too busy. They want convenience, So it's really, really tricky. I don't think there's like one right answer. I think there's a lot of unconventional marketing that like is quite lucky as well. It's like right place, right time kind of thing. But it's almost like impossible to do anything without testing it first.
Yeah.
And it's like you have to spend a lot of money testing what works until you find something. And then what I find the hardest thing is now is like I use a metric called frequency. And so frequency is basically your impressions and reach. So your reach is the individual person that sees your advertisement, and the impression is like how many times your ad's been seen. But that could be seen by multiple times by one person, which is the frequency. And so there's like content fatigue. So, you may have an ad that works really well, and then it goes back to like being, compressed to the Alberta borders, is that our ads can only be seen so many times, and we have to make like a similar ad, but it's different enough where people aren't going to, scroll past it without paying attention to it. Like it's a total beast in itself, honestly. Like marketing is like people give marketers a hard time and stuff, but like it's actually like insanely difficult.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, like even just like getting a message across in that like short amount of time with that short attention span, it makes so much sense why people gravitate so much to that like lose weight fast.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like eye-catching, it's enticing, and it's quick and easy, right? Whereas to sit here and be like, yeah, we need to like, okay, this is what we need to do. We need to like educate on like building slowly and like just like building consistency and that type of thing.
Yeah,
people are like already gone.
Yeah,
right.
That's the thing. Like it should be like it's not, but it is at the same time. It's like an ethical thing where it's like a lot of times you see marketing, it's building false expectations.
Yeah,
which is what we don't want to do.
Yeah, but
like it's difficult, not to be tempted because it's like, well, that's what sells.
Yeah,
and like we haven't done that. I don't think that we will do that, but it's like. It has to be eye-catching enough where you can get their attention, then bring them to a landing page.
Yeah.
And that has to be enough information, but a little enough where it's like not overwhelming. Like it's just crazy. So it's just, one of those things that you have to just trial and error and, A/B test different things. Like what I find is that it's not so much even the visuals that's the hard part. It's like, the copy itself, a part of the creative. Yeah. Like it's like saying the right thing, like you're mentioning. It's like, yeah, you can say lose weight fast and then you'll pique someone's interest because they're, that hits them because, there's an emotional connection saying that, they may not be confident or they may feel like they're overweight or whatever. And like, they're vulnerable. But when you say to them, yeah, you may be overweight, you may be this, but like we can help you, but it's going to take 6 months. Like that doesn't sound very attractive. Yeah. Or they want, like, again, instant results. So yeah, it's really difficult. And we never really have sold our product like a weight loss program. We've always sold it as like a fresh prepared food option. Yeah. With our new platform, we'll probably we'll gear it more towards health and wellness, but it will never be a weight loss app. Like I don't want to be that. Yeah. I don't want, that's never been part of our scope or like part of our mantra really. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, if I find any good marketing techniques, I'll let you know. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's good. And just from my perspective too, like you guys have done a good job with your messaging. Like that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you today and stuff too, is because there is that nice, clean, sharp and attractive messaging of like convenient, healthy meals. Right. And that's something that's, I think, like I said before, one of the biggest struggles that people face when it comes to getting healthy, when it comes to just living a better life is that nutrition piece and how do I make it easier, more convenient. Yeah, a lot of times like, which is kind of cool as well. And I mean, it's not good from a business perspective, but, a lot of people will have our meals. Let's say they have, they're eating on our program for like 4 to 6 months. Yeah. Well, 4 to 6 weeks. they understand the breakdown of the meal itself. Like I said, we're full transparent. 5 ounces of protein, half cup of carbs, full cup of vegetables.
Yeah.
And now they know, I can know if I'm not so busy, I can make this myself as well. And then they know what to make, which is kind of cool. And then when they are busy and when, time's of the essence, they come back and order from us because they know what to expect. So it's kind of nice. I think we do help people more than we realize. And we've had customers say you guys really helped educate me on how to prepare my food. Not so much the cooking aspect, but what to eat.
Yep.
And then, they're but when I am really busy, I can come to you. I know I can count on you because the food's good. There's no preservatives. It's healthy. It's whole foods. And that's what I'm expecting, right? It feels like a home cooked meal. And that's what we're going for.
Yeah. It kind of teaches people what's possible.
Yeah.
Right. So I've even said, even with tracking calories, there's times where I've tracked calories very specifically and times where I get my clients to, but never as a long-term thing of this is what you're going to do for the next, 6 years of your life or for the rest of your life. It's no, this is what you're going to do to get a gauge on what you need to be eating.
Yeah. And right? You eyeball it after. A lot of times Grace did competition prep for a bodybuilding show years ago, and she didn't do the show, but she prepped as she was going to.
Yeah.
But everything she was doing, weighing every last grain of rice, I mean, that's a time and place for that, which is in that industry, in that sport. But then now it's okay, well, I know half a cup is fine. It's close enough.
Yeah.
It's good enough. I'm not gonna die by eating a couple extra grains, right? So again, it's you build that base, you build that knowledge, and then you can kind of scale it whenever you need it, and then scale it back whenever you don't need it, right?
Yeah. And that's what it's all about, right? It's just learning how to do it and make it a little bit easier, make it a little more consistent, so you can make it sustainable, right?
Yeah, sustainable. That's the biggest takeaway.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we got to get Grace on the show eventually.
Absolutely.
It sounds like she'll have some good insights as well. Before we kind of start to wrap things up, just curious, what message you have for people who are listening for the industry or even just for Nutrimeals and what you guys have going on?
For sure. I just want to say, take care of your body. It's your vehicle. That's probably the most important thing. Don't be too hard on yourself as well. Moderation is a good thing. You can eat that chocolate bar once in a while. It's not going to hurt you. But if you eat healthy once in a while, it's also not going to help you. So, it's a little bit of everything. If you guys need anything, you know where to find us on the regular social media channels. And I'd be happy to kind of answer any questions that anybody has. Go from there. But thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, no, thank you. And so it's nutrimeals.ca, right?
That's right.
And then is Nutrimeals on all the social medias as well?
Yeah, Instagram, all the same handle. It's literally nutrimeals.ca on everything.
Okay.
Even the username.
Perfect.
Keep all.
Okay, it keeps it easy for everybody. So go check them out. You guys got some really cool things. The meals look really good on the website. So go check it out. And this has been fun.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And if you want some meals, let me know and I'll bring them to you.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds like a personalized delivery.
That's right.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome. Definitely, I'll take you up on that. So
cool.
Thanks again for being here, Sam. And thanks everybody for listening and watching. And we'll see you in the next episode.